Chronic wasting disease, CWD, is a transmissible spongiform encephalopathy that affects ungulates like moose, elk, and deer. Symptoms of CWD include a weight loss, listlessness, behavioral changes, unusual pacing, and eventually death. Although CWD is not known to transfer to humans, the disease creates many social issues, including issues involving livestock, hunting behavioral changes, environmental impacts, and animal rights. An increase of research and public attention involving CWD and other wildlife diseases would decrease the amount of and intensity of related social issues. The United States Fish and Wildlife Service, USFWS, is a federal government agency in the Department of the Interior that is responsible for the conservation, protection, and enhancement of fish, wildlife, plants, and their habitats in order to continue benefiting the American people. The agency was established in 1871 by the U.S. Congress to find a solution for the declining population of fish in America. USFWS is divided into two hierarchical divisions, the headquarters and the regional branches. The headquarters are responsible for the formation of policies, while the regional branches are responsible for the implementation of those policies in their specific regions. Daniel M. Ash is the director of the USFWS and is responsible for making sure that the agency adheres to the mission statement. With this being said, Daniel Ash should create a wildlife disease program within the service in order to properly serve the American public with the natural resource information that they constitutionally deserve. Government agencies in the U.S. are held to a high standard as far as displaying their purpose publicly. The reason for the display is for the public to practice their democratic right and to be able to hold the agency accountable for the actions completed under the United States government. The USFWS website makes it clear to the public the importance of the agency through 3 separate and individual pages of information: the mission statement, the objectives, and USFWS at a glance. By analyzing the definitions of the agency's claims and purposes, the following statements are derived. The USFWS will protect the environment through habitat and wildlife, protect the safety of humans regarding natural resources, and protect and enhance a positive human-environmental relationship. The creation of a wildlife disease program in the agency will fulfill these 3 important governmental characteristics and keep the agency true to their mission statement. The absence of a wildlife disease program, however, negates the mission statement, objectives, and definition of USFWS. If Ash does not implement this new program, he will not be justifying the position that President Barack Obama appointed him to accomplish. Protection of the environment is an important characteristic of the service. The mission statement states that USFWS will conserve, protect, and enhance fish, wildlife, and habitat. One of the agency objectives states that USFWS will strive to guide conservation. Chronic wasting disease affects a numerous amount of wildlife, including elk, moose, deer, and other ungulates. These species live in groups, either year-round or seasonally, making the spread of the disease easy and common. CWD not only spreads through specific groups of species, but also disperses across the country. There are now cases of CWD in Colorado, Wyoming, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. CWD was previously contained to only specific groups of ungulates in Colorado, but transmission is occurring at a rapid rate across the U.S. Research has been conducted on CWD by many researchers, but the studies are simple in relation to the seriousness of the disease. There are wildlife diseases that affect all species in the United States. Important diseases, however, are considered to be highly destructive and fatal, easily transmittable, and zoonotic to humans. Dispersal of wildlife disease is always a crucial topic to discuss and research because high dispersal rates can lead to exponential death in a species and possible destruction. An increase in research of disease will lead to more solutions that can prevent endangerment of species. As stated above, it is an objective of USFWS to guide conservation. Without a wildlife disease program in the National Wildlife Agency, research related to disease is developed at the state level. Each state has a division of wildlife that focuses on the wildlife issues in the area. USFWS is not guiding the nation in wildlife disease, but is actually following the state-level management. If wildlife disease was a program within the USFWS, not only would the agency follow their objective, but the research of specific diseases would be unified, collaborative, and ultimately more efficient. Protection of human safety in regard to natural resources is described by the service in their mission statement, objectives, and definitions. The mission statement states that the actions performed by the agency is for the benefit of the American people. An objective states that the USFWS strives to provide public understanding of their environment and resources. And lastly, the definition page states that the agency is to ensure a healthy environment. Public understanding of CWD is limited across the nation. The stakeholders involved with CWD impacts are those Americans who are in direct relationship with the ungulates affected. Some of these stakeholders include hunters, state-specific researchers and agencies, and deer farmers. In the West Virginia newspaper, The Gazette, it is mentioned that a small group of Wetzel County citizens were against the shooting of an escaped elk with potential CWD. Most of the articles describing current issues with CWD and the public involve smaller specific groups of people. The increasing dispersal of the disease, however, is creating more stakeholder groups every day. Without national awareness of CWD, the new stakeholders only know about the disease through experience rather than warned and informed by the national government. By not broadcasting information of CWD through a national agency, many future stakeholders are excluded from the pertinent information. The lack of a national wildlife disease program affects all Americans by not informing them of the important wildlife diseases that are prevalent in their own backyard. Government agencies are made to inform the public and keep the nation's people safe. Lack of information causes people to be unaware of the dangers that they could face on a daily basis. Ensuring a healthy environment means that diseases must be properly researched and properly dealt with. Addressing the topic of disease creates solutions to this issue before the issue becomes a large-scale problem of possible human sickness and death. CWD, so far, has not been found to be zoonotic towards humans. This fact, however, has not been fully researched or confirmed as absolute. Through nationwide attention and research, questions involving wildlife disease can be concentrated and solved. The lack of this national disease program creates a non-preventative approach to wildlife disease. At the national level, disease is intensely researched after it has affected human health. This approach is setting Americans up for an unhealthy environment. By implementing a wildlife disease program, research can be done preventively and will, in turn, keep Americans more safe, the dispersal of infectious disease to a minimum, and inform the public of the surrounding transmissible dangers. USFWS mentions the aspect of the human-environment relationship in all three of their web pages. The mission statement explains that the agency is created for the benefit of the American people. The objective states that the service strives for an enhanced environmental stewardship ethic and a public understanding of the environment. Lastly, the definitions explain that USFWS is an agency that promotes the enjoyment of the environment by Americans. The USFWS strives to create a nation that is informed and involved in the environment in which the public lives. This statement is loaded, for the agency does not provide pertinent information about the environment for the public to address. Wildlife disease plays a huge role among specific species, habitats, ecological systems, human and environmental safety, landscapes, and international affairs. By excluding a program in the National Wildlife Agency about this huge topic, the U.S. government is denying the public important access to the environment and its effects. The enjoyment of wildlife and the environment is an important aspect that USFWS continues to ensure and improve. Wildlife disease affects the environment of which Americans enjoy on a daily basis. Jerry Vask, a natural resource professor at Colorado State University, writes in his publication, CWD Prevalence, Perceived Human Health Risk, and State Influences on Deer Hunting Participation, that increased interactions among CWD prevalence, hypothetical human death, perceived human health risk, state prevalence, and residency prevalence increase the potential for hunters to stop hunting. This study shows that chronic wasting disease has the potential to impact the behavior and enjoyment of Americans, specifically hunters, in the environment. Wildlife disease will always affect humans and their interaction with their environments. With the Wildlife Disease Program in the USFWS, wildlife disease will get more public and research attention. This increased attention will decrease the impact of wildlife disease on the human-environment relationship. The United States Fish and Wildlife Service is not a small private agency. The USFWS is a government service. Because of the authority that this service has over our nation, it is important that all environmental issues are addressed. Wildlife disease is an important environmental issue that is being ignored by David Ash, the service, and the American government. In order for the United States government to fulfill the duty of informing the public of the important national affairs, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service is not a small private agency. The USFWS is a government service. Because of the authority that this service has over our nation, it is important that all environmental issues are addressed. Wildlife disease is an important environmental issue that is being ignored by David Ash, the service, and the American government. In order for the United States government to fulfill the duty of informing the public of the important national affairs, the USFWS must implement a wildlife disease program.